Good evening and welcome. Before we get started, I'd like to invite the APTO up just for a brief kind of presentation. So welcome, ladies.
Hi all, my name is Kumu Sivarajan.
And I'm Jacqueline Reed Barnes.
We are from Algonquin Parentage Organization. I have two students here, a junior and the freshman. Yes, there is a parentage organization in the high school too. Just reminding you guys, I would like to think PTOs are the fourth leg of the table, connects the parents, teachers, and the students. So how do we connect and what are we doing here? Just very broadly, well, for you guys, especially to your junior student, we host and sponsor junior post-prom party. Right after the prom at school, we bus the kids to the outside venue, which is going to be in Marlborough Sports Center, to have more fun through the night into the morning, wee hours of morning. We pump in a lot of money out there just to make sure kids have super safe, secure, and substance-free, to be noted, event. It's 100% strictly prohibited. We need a lot of help though. Small it may be, like food pickup, help check-in, chaperone, but we need to get done. So I do not want to take much time. We are right outside there at the table, so if you can just stop by, that would be really great. It would be much helpful if you can lend hands. Then we also do the senior scholarships, junior today, tomorrow senior. It depends on how fat our wallet is every year. We give pretty decent amount to a number of kids, seniors. So here I want to deviate a bit. Funds mainly come from a parent donation. Also, the monies we raise through our fundraising programs. It's not a huge, but monthly we are going out there this year, monthly fundraising nights. As a matter of fact, right now, as we speak, there's a fundraising night going on in Casavallata, Mexican restaurant on Route 9 westbound. So you guys know where to go right out of the meeting. Just
Absolutely.
dine in or take out, say APTO, percentage goes to APTO only to support the school. 100% goes to support our school and its students.
They have a mariachi band, by the way.
Yeah, it's going up to
Until
9
9.
o'clock. Yes. Also, we want to take a moment to thank our parents, those who have donated this year. Thank you very much. You did indeed made a difference. Others, we accept donation all year round. Nothing is a small amount. Anything is big at the receiving end. Coming back, we also take care of the hospitality. We take care of the Teacher Appreciation Week, breakfast, and end of year luncheon. This is just a word of thanks to our teachers and staff for all what they do to our children. Not forgetting the students, we give ice cream social sometime around May. The kids come there, relish the ice cream and have fun. We are not sure like how many of them know it's coming from APTO. That's what I just reminded, that is still parent-teacher organization. Also, we support our guidance department, bringing in some world-class speakers. For example, last year, Dr. Pori, Kevin Wasner, some others, amazing programs. I personally, there's a lot of information and very, very useful for the students and also for the parents. Lastly, most importantly, we have been trying very hard lately to bring in some volunteers at the request of the school, though, to monitor our hallways, bathrooms, and the cafeteria. Here I want to address few things because of the different perspectives I hear from the parents. Those who say, we don't want to deal with the high schoolers, they can be intimidated. There is no dealing with the high schoolers whatsoever. I come in here whenever I can, bring in my work, nice tables, comfy chairs, I get to sit down, nice downtime for me, maximum 2 hours, an hour or two. It's much useful. It's very, very helpful to the school. Nothing dealing, we just have to make sure the kids coming in, signing in and signing out. That's all about it. There's not handling or dealing with them whatsoever. So that's a little misconception. Pretty good, the kids are, but that's all the administration like to track later on, if there is anything at all. And also if there is anything at all, the administration tells us just to call them, press of a number, that's all. So there's nothing. So the other subset of the parents who say, my student doesn't want to see me out there, sad, understandable, but for that we can work around. It's a big, big school. They have many hallways, as you know, so if she or he is going to be in the hallway, we won't even go near that. We would monitor the D hallway. So you can definitely help the school. And also at one time, they need more than a volunteer. So if you can give an hour or two of your precious time, it will be really helpful. Better yet, if you can convince your parents if they live close by, that would be brilliant, because we are tapping both towns' senior centers also. Why not? After all, it takes a village to raise a child. So we are and also this is not news, it's proved time and again, the generation gap works very well, mutually beneficial too. So the youngsters, they don't want to see us. Grandparents are lovely, aren't they? And also the grandparents to see the backpack kids walk by, memories go back. So that's really nice. Basically, the school really needs the volunteers. If you can give an hour or two, that would be really grateful. That's broadly it, what we do here, how we connect.
Thank you. That's great.
And also, lastly, check us out from the website, from the main Algonquin webpage. Pull down the community menu, and we are second from top, just there. And also, about the JPP, I just want to remind you, we are right outside there. If you can just stop by, we can give you the details. And that's about it. Thank you all, and have a great rest of the year, and good luck with the college stuff.
Thank you. I'm actually the outgoing chair this year, and I just want to say good luck. You'll get through the next year. I promise you that. And I just wanted to remind you to keep an eye out for the materials about the JPP. It's a really big way to keep the kids safe and substance-free, and it takes a village to pull this off. And we really need you guys as a class to get your kids involved, if there's some volunteering, or that's the only thing I can say for your perspective. There'll be a lot of information about the details as we get closer. But thank you all, and good luck.
All right, thank you, ladies. And thank you to the APTO for their continued support of the guidance department. We greatly appreciate all of the support that you provide to us. They regularly help us with our college fair, as well as what Kumu had already said in bringing in, speakers to support our students and the education of our students. So we are eternally grateful for all of the support that you provide to us and coordinating all of the volunteers and everything. So thank you. So good evening and welcome. My name is Lisa Connery. I'm the Director of Guidance here at Algonquin. It's nice to see so many people here tonight. Probably helps that we don't have a polar vortex over our heads right now. So thankfully, we've had a nice mild winter that allows us to get, have these events and everything. Tonight, we're going to be talking about junior post-secondary planning and next steps for your student as they start to look towards the end of their high school career. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment just to introduce the guidance counselors. I think it's always nice if we can put a face with a name, because oftentimes we're communicating over the phone or via email, so I think it's always nice when you actually have a face with a name. So I'll start down here with our male counselors. We have on the far left here, Jason Lassard. Next to him is Dave Breglio. Manning our computer is Andrea Hotchkin and Becca Haberman. Next to Becca is Linda Hutchins and Kate Mulcahy. Unfortunately, Pam Mackey couldn't be here this evening, but if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out, to her via email. She's more than happy to answer any of your questions, as are all of the other guidance counselors when we finish up. If you'd like to have an appointment to come in and meet with us and speak individually about your student, we are always more than happy to meet with you. Just reach out to us and we'll schedule a time. So tonight we're going to spend a bunch of time talking about the search process and program, post-secondary options that are available for your student. We have been meeting with students all week long in workshops, and we've taken a slightly different twist with our work in the workshops with students this week. We've actually been spending some time having them do some group work and read articles pertaining to the admissions process and really kind of have a discussion about a lot of different topics related to the college search process and post-secondary planning. Whether it's talking about, vocational programs, 2-year schools, 4-year schools, the importance of, finding the right fit, the match for an individual student, having some conversation about rankings. We all see those rankings that come out, and what do those rankings really mean? And how do you kind of take all of this information that you're going to be receiving, from a lot of different sources over the next year and a half, and kind of pull that in together and, kind of come up with an individual process and an individual plan for your student. We really have been encouraging the students to think about, their strengths, their likes, their dislikes, to really help kind of hone in on what might be the right fit or match for them as an individual, because this is very much an individual process. What may work for one student might not work for the other. And that can hold true just within your own household. You might have 2 completely different students within your household who have take completely different pathways. And we are here to support all of those options, all of those pathways, and to guide you and your student through this process. So tonight we're going to spend some time talking about, we'll go over, of course, testing, because we have to, right? We have to talk about testing. It is a part of the process. We'll also talk about course selection. We'll do some more introduction to Naviance. Some of you might have joined us last year at the workshop about the career assessments. Tonight we'll put more of a focus on the college search process and how you can go and, gather data and information about individual schools within the program itself. So we have a lot of different stuff that we'll talk about. We'll give you a little snapshot of financial aid. And of course, in the fall, we will have a financial aid presentation by the Massachusetts Education Finance Authority. So we pretty much have this all mapped out, and we will guide you through it. This initial step is really about beginning to explore and to consider options. And one of the things that I've been saying to students at the workshops is that we're very, very fortunate in that the area we live in, we have a lot of different schools around us. So there is a lot of opportunity to visit and to really start to figure out, what do you like and what don't you like in a school? How big is too big? How small is too small? Do I like an urban setting, or would I prefer more of a rural green space setting? What exactly is it that your student likes about a particular school? And then if your student wants to maybe go a little further away, maybe they want to go to Maryland or Pennsylvania or Virginia or down south, if they've done their legwork at some of the schools around here and really kind of figured out what it is they're looking for in a school, that helps us to guide them to identify some potential schools to look at that are a little further away. So we start very early because we want to encourage you to start working with your student and getting out onto the campuses and really visiting, because there is no substitution for a campus visit. And oftentimes, students will think that a school is a really great fit for them, and then they go and visit, and suddenly they realize, they get a feeling that, no, this is not the school for me. And, and they make a completely different decision once they've visited the campus. That is the one thing that we really can't do for your student. We're not allowed to drive them around and to visit campuses, right? So that's how you can help us, is really sitting down, having a conversation, planning out the next couple of vacations. We have February vacation coming up. We have a March PD day. We have April vacation. What's coming down the pike for the summer? And, how can we work this in together as a family to make sure that we're getting on some of these campuses? Let's say you have, Kumu, you have a junior in and a freshman, right? It's okay to take that other student along with you and let them begin to experience some of the campus visits as well, because they can start to get a little sense of, what they might like. So that is the biggest thing, is the sooner you start and you begin to have these conversations, the better off you're going to be as we transition into the summer and the fall and we begin the admissions process. So tonight we will give you an introduction to a lot of that, how to explore, how to look up information in Naviance, some of that basic information to get you started on the process. We will also have, on Friday, March 6th, we're going to have 3 admissions counselors come in, and they will do a panel. And this is a great opportunity because we have the entire junior class down here. And, we talk through a lot of the different topics that are related to admissions. And we also provide students and parents an opportunity to ask questions of the admissions counselors. And then in May, on Thursday, May 21st, we will have a parent presentation in the morning. And what we will be doing then is we'll be going over what your student can be working on in the summer. We recognize that the students are all really busy and they have a lot going on, whether they're working or participating in athletics or the school play, whatever it might be, our students are busy. So we try to provide them with the information they need so they can kind of get a jump start on the fall admissions process during the summer. So at that time, we'll go over stuff like the application, Common App, and essay questions, and teacher recs, and guidance counselor recs. All of that stuff will come in time, okay? And we have that all mapped out. And then in the fall, when we come back, we'll have another presentation where we will go over the nuts and bolts. How do we pull all of these pieces of the puzzle together in order to successfully apply to your chosen schools? All right, we'll also provide you with, like I already said, a financial aid night. So we have this very mapped out for you, and I just encourage you to kind of begin the process and primarily focus right now on exploring, visiting schools, and then, signing up for testing, and we will walk you through the rest of it as we move through the school year. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea Hotchkins so she can talk about standardized testing. And we'll hold questions to the end, and we'll do a Q&A at the end.
Good evening. All right, so that dreaded rite of passage for students wanting to go to college, it's taking these tests. We did meet with the students this week. We are meeting with a group of them tomorrow as well who have not had their workshops. But what we've done is we start talking about the differences between the 2 major standardized tests. So that's the SAT and the ACT. In your workbooks, I think it's pages 3, 4, 5. It does go over a lot of the information, but I guess the biggest difference really with the SAT is there's going to be a math section and an evidence-based reading section. Okay, there's 2 main sections. There's also an optional essay. The ACT has a math reading, English, and a science section. There is also an optional essay. So you will see, I keep saying optional. Yes, these are considered optional. However, some colleges may require that students submit the essay from the SAT or the ACT. So in that case, it's important that they take that essay at least one time while taking the test. I talk about at least one time. Most students do take these tests a couple times, maybe even 3 times. Our recommendation is that students take both the SAT and the ACT in the spring. Okay, so they're going to do that this year, junior year. They're going to see which test was a better test. Okay, I think sometimes students may come back and be like, wow, the ACT was a lot better test for me. Personally, I find the ACT a lot more straightforward in terms of the types of questions asked, not as tricky. However, it is a lot more fast-paced. So you don't have a lot of time to go back and forth and reread things. It's just you kind of move along. SAT, you do have more time to go reflect, but it's really measuring your critical thinking and your problem-solving skills. Okay. Page 5 of your workbook actually gives a really good chart of the differences between the 2 tests, specifically the structure, the length of the tests, also the types of math covered. So we always say, okay, for the students, take the test, SAT, take the ACT. Then we'll come back and we'll look, see which was better. And then in the fall of senior year, students typically do take a test again, focusing on that one test that was their better fit, and then they'll do some more time preparing for that. There is one other type of test that some colleges may ask for, and that's called the SAT subject test. Back in my day, that was the SAT 2s. Not a lot of schools require it. However, some of the more selective schools may say they require subject tests or strongly recommend that. Since students are just starting this college process, we're going to be working with them to build a college list. And part of their job is, as they're looking at these colleges, is understanding what are the requirements that these colleges have, specifically for testing. Do I need to take a subject test? In that case, we need to make sure that your students are making a plan for when these things are going to happen. We gave them a worksheet this week they are filling out, and we asked them to identify a couple test dates, so SAT as well as ACT, that they might want to take. So we're going to be using these worksheets we gave them. They also filled out information on things they might want to look for, whether it's a four-year school. Do they want to be in New England? Do they want a big school, small school? What are their major interests? We're going to be using these worksheets as we individually work with your students. We will help them build lists, but we'll also then map out a timeline for them that makes sense for their testing. I think a lot of students feel this pressure to take the SAT right away in March. That's the next exam. Typically, I would say students in our Algebra 2 college prep classes should wait and take it until May, okay? And I'm just saying that because of the math covered. Many of our students taking pre-calculus right now, the March exam, they may feel very confident going in understanding that math. So subject tests, again, not a lot of places require it. You just want to see if you have to take that. All right, so that's the difference between the two tests. Next, people are asking, when should we start? So on page 4, you do have those dates that they're offered throughout this spring, as well as into the fall of senior year. Anything marked with an asterisk, you're going to see those are test dates that Algonquin actually is a test site. Okay, so we test here, for instance, in May and June for the SAT. What I always encourage our students to do, though, is register early, because we are a test site for them, but we're a test site for anybody. Okay, so somebody in Connecticut, maybe they're visiting Massachusetts that weekend, they can take the test here. Okay, so for our students, I always say to make sure that you're getting a seat here, as well as to avoid those late fees. Just make sure you're registering by the deadlines that are indicated in the workbook. At this time, I'm going to say, when you register, you're either going to do it on College Board or ACT. Okay. This is all done separately outside of Algonquin, so we don't control the registration process. You just want to make sure that when you're registering, it is going to ask at the time, hey, do you want to send your scores to colleges? You can send your scores to 4 colleges for free. Do not do that right now. It's way too early for students to start sending their scores. That's something in September when we start come back and start the workshops again. We will go over exactly how those scores can be sent to the schools. So test prep. I know students are super anxious about the test, so I would say the best way to alleviate that would be doing some preparation. Many ways. I'd say the best way, honestly, is through Khan Academy. That's Khan Academy. That is online. It's a free test prep service offered that pairs with College Board. So how many of your children took the PSAT? Okay, so by taking the PSAT, they would have gotten an email from College Board for them to access their scores through College Board. By doing that, they are then able to link their PSAT scores to Khan Academy. And what Khan Academy then does is it actually puts together a personalized practice plan for that student. It's actually taking their scores, identifying what their strengths were, those blind spots, and helps them prepare for the test based on how they did on their PSAT. Algonquin offers a class, I think registration information was sent out a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna say those seats do fill up pretty quickly. There's 3 sessions. Sessions 1 and 3 right now, they do have plenty of space. I was told this morning, session 2, there's only 5 seats available. One thing we did notice when we were talking to the students this week is a lot of them are signed up for this class, but they didn't realize that there's a practice test this Saturday morning. Okay, so it's a required part of this class is that you take a full-length practice test. Okay, so that is here this Saturday morning. Now, we understand sometimes, students can't make it. They will be able to go see the teacher to pick up the test, but they're expected to do that on their own at home, is literally sit for like a 4-hour length test and time themselves for that. So that's the class. I think the class is great because, one, it's $150 compared to something you might be paying $1,000 to $5,000 for some of these test prep companies, okay? But you guys, if you want that registration, that's still available. So that would be done through the main office. Otherwise, there's outside organizations. Guidance has a whole list of private tutors we can recommend. And then I said a lot about the tests. However, there's something to keep in mind is a lot of colleges, actually over 1,000 colleges at this point, are test optional. What that means is they're not requiring students to submit their standardized tests as part of the admissions process, okay? So on, I think it's page 3 of your workbook. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. At the bottom, there is a website that says fairtest.org. If you were to go to that website, you will see over 1,000 colleges, and you're going to see there's top-tier colleges, universities from all over the country that subscribe to that notion that this one test is not going to define the student's future, okay? Colleges understand, like, what does it mean to sit there for 4 hours? You have so many other things to offer. So that being said, we do want students obviously to take these tests, but it's not the end of the world because there's so many colleges that will look at students beyond those scores. All right, so Linda Hutchins is next, and I'm gonna have her get onto Naviance. That's our college and career readiness platform.
Okay. Hello. Good evening. Tonight I'm going to be talking with you about Naviance. It's our online program for searching for colleges and looking into career exploration. Just to let you know, it is now mobile friendly. So if you were going to a college to visit, you could look up some information on your way there. And then on the way home, you could look up what you want to do for your next visit and look up that college too. So it's very convenient now that it can be on your phone. It can also be on your laptop, computer, whatever. So to begin with, we are going to show you how we showed the kids to get on and how you can also get on to Naviance. This might be a reminder for some of you, but we're going to go through it again just real quickly. So if you go to the Algonquin website and you go to guidance, and then you go to Naviance. Oh, we're already in. So it's kind of a new login this year. So the students are actually not going to have a password. Their password, well, they do, but their password is going to be the same password they use to log on to their computers when they're in school and everything like that. But the parents, you're still going to have to log in. It'll say log in, and then underneath it, it'll say parent. You'll have to log in through the parent section, and you'll have to have your user ID and your password. If you forgot your password, just email your counselor or contact us. It's so easy. We can reset it for you, no problem. If you have more than one child and you want to sync them up so you have the same login for both, again, if you haven't already done that, just email us. It's real easy. We can take care of that, no problem. Okay, so from the home page of Naviance, the first thing I want to remind you of is there's some tabs, the home, college, careers, and about me. We're going to go into the about me real quick, and we're going to go to the account. I just wanted to remind you of this one because if you scroll down, I want to make sure that the student's email and then on the next tab, your email are in here because this is how we are going to send a lot of communication to you this year and next year, and you're going to want to make sure your email matches up with what the one you're looking at. The other thing that you're going to be really interested in looking at, if you scroll down, this is where we show you where your GPA is. So right now, the GPAs are loaded in there for the students, but GPAs are computed yearly. So this was recalculated at the end of their sophomore year. So at the end of this year in June, before we all go off to summer, we'll recalculate the end of their junior year GPA. That is the GPA that will be on the transcripts that are sent to colleges next year. And the GPA will not be recomputed. It's a yearly one, so that'll be the one that they see. If your child, may not have done very well their first 2 years and they're doing great their junior year and superb their senior year, the counselor will work with you and will make sure that that is noted to the colleges. But this is an official document and it's a yearly GPA, and so it's always the junior GPA for any school that's given. Okay, going back to the home page and staying with that About Me tab, I'm gonna go down and look at my assessments. So we spent a lot of time last year, and we talked about this in a workshop in depth about the assessments that we did with your students last year, and I just want to take a moment to remind you of that. So we did the Do What You Are with your students. That's the Myers-Briggs inventory, and we also did the career interest profiler. And those two assessments really do give good information about their preferences. It relates to careers that they might be interested in, and then it also can give you possible majors. So while you're looking at schools, you can take a look at this information, and it's a really good resource. Now we're gonna go into what we're really here tonight for. So we're gonna go to the college tab, and we're gonna go to the home page, and we're gonna come down here, and we're gonna look at the advanced college search. So this week, we were in workshops with all the students, and we were talking with them about how to make these college search lists. And so everyone pretty much was able to get onto a computer and start doing a search in the workshop. And we encourage them not just to do one, but to do multiple ones. And we'll go over that with you in a minute. We really did talk to the students about finding that right fit. And I know Mrs. Connery, or at least Connery, already kind of talked about that too, but we really wanted them to know that this is their process and this is what's important to them, whether their parents or their siblings or their cousins or their neighbors went to one school, which might have been great for them. We want them to do the search that's going to find the fit that's going to be perfect for them. So we spent some time in the workshops too, just going over the pros and cons of a big school versus a small school. The location, whether it was close to home or away from home. I'm a parent too, and I told everybody, I said, listen, away is away. We are not gonna come to your school without letting you know, even if you're at Framingham State. If that's the right school for you, don't worry about how close it is, because away is away. And I would never go to my son's college without letting him know that I'm coming. The other thing I'm just gonna throw out there too, my son got sick. He goes to UConn. He got really sick last week, and he had to go to the emergency room. And one of the things that I was thankful for was that he was close, and I shared this with the students. And I said, it's up to their individuality and their independence as to how many of them would want to be closer to home or how many of them would be okay being far away when that happened. So we talked about some of those things. We talked about, making sure that you may not know the exact major that you want, but pick some majors, all of the ones that you're interested in. Make sure that the schools that you're looking at have all of your interests there. Most students go to school with an undeclared major, and most of them change their majors 2 or 3 times. And they still are able to graduate in 4 years. Then we looked also what kind of community do you want? Do you want it to be like a real closed campus? Do you want it to be an open campus? What are your comfort zones around those things? So anyways, now we're gonna look at the advanced search, and the categories around the advanced search are type, location, students, admissions, athletics, and the rest of them. For the type of school, we always tell the students, when you're starting out, keep it general. We don't want you to miss a great school that would be perfect for you because you made your search too narrow. So we always say, let's just start out right now with a 4-year school. And it doesn't matter if it's private or public. Let's also go ahead and make it a co-ed school. And that's all we're gonna pick on this screen for this time. Then we're gonna go to location, and we always tell the students too, do multiple searches, maybe based on the location. Otherwise, you could pick so many different states that you're gonna have a list of like 1,000 schools, and that will be so overwhelming and too much information for the schools. So we're gonna start out by picking just the New England area right now. And then we're gonna go to students. And so for the student body, what we recommend for the students is if you're looking for like a medium school, we're gonna tell them, go ahead and select the 2,000 to 5,000, go ahead and select the 5 to 10, and even select the 10 to 15. Because we don't want you to miss a school just because it's a little bit over or a little bit under what you selected. Then we're gonna go to admissions. And we again, told the students to keep it broad. We asked them to make a balanced list. So we want them to have a list where they have reaches, they have targets, and they have safeties. So we said leave this blank, and you can get all of those when you do your searches, and then you can make that balanced list off of those schools. Athletics, we have athletics. If your child's interested in a Division 1, 2, or 3, we also have sports if they want to make sure that the sports is there, even if they don't want to play it. I'm just going to give you a quick warning here. We have some sports like kickball. That's probably going to give you a very, very, very limited search. So even probably 0. So no one plays kickball in Division 1, 2, or 3. They might have intramurals, but that's not really what they're asking you for. So when you look at this, just, use a little common sense. And the major. So you can go down here and you can put one major in. We're going to put business in right now just to keep it general. And then you can scroll down and see all the different options. We normally tell the student just to keep it the general one, because then they won't eliminate a school just because it didn't have something, it wasn't listed in the criteria that Naviance uses. And then you can add select. You could add a different one if you wanted. Right now we're going to go and view the colleges. So you can see we have 58 matches, and our search criteria is listed there, and then you can start to see some of the schools. And you can go back up and you can save this search so you never have to do this search again. And you can put in New England Business Program or New England Business. And then you can save it and it's there for them or it's there for you. And then the last thing I'm going to say, if you can go down here and you can click on any school that you are thinking like, this might be something that I want to check out. So you can click on some schools. We can check out Assumption, Bentley, Bryant, Champlain, I don't know. And then you can go up and add them to your college list that you're thinking about. And then they'll be saved for you. And now Becca Haberman is going to come up and do the college that I'm thinking about and give you some other tools and data that will help you with your searches.
How's everybody doing? I don't stand here because then I can't see over it. I'm a little short. These guys are going to laugh at me, but we got a lot of people here. How many of you, this is your first kid going to college? There we go. Where's your anxiety? Way up here? Okay, that's what we're here for. We really do walk you guys through this, and it's not a race, and you just take your time. Some of my best times was in the car with my kids when we were going to visit colleges, and just really talking about what they liked, what they didn't like. I had one son, he chose his college really based on the mascot. He was looking at 2. One was SUNY Stony Brook, their mascot was Seawolves. Well, Seawolves aren't real, so he chose Drexel because their mascot is a dragon, and that's why he went. Okay, so Naviance is a great tool. There are other ways to do college searches because all of our data is loaded into Naviance. That's what we use. As Linda showed you, you can pick all different things, and we will be working closely with your kids and talking with them. And because we've been around a little bit, I've been around much longer than most of them, we know a lot of colleges that you might never heard of. And that's the beauty of it. There's over 5,000 colleges in the United States, Canada, Guam, Virgin Islands, those places. Plus, you've got your internationals. So there's a lot of colleges. There is a college out there for everyone. But when you are looking at this, there's some really great information that you can get just to get a glimpse of something before deciding to go visit. So let's just click on Assumption. I ended up going to Assumption for my master's degree, and I tell kids I went there because they did not require the GRE, which is like the SAT only for graduate school. And I did that because I'm a terrible test taker. I cannot sit still for more than an hour, never mind 3 or 4. So I got a great experience at Assumption. What you see here is a really nice overview, and I stay away from that average net price thing. I don't know what they're talking about. Graduation rate, always important to see that, how many kids are graduating, and I know one of you guys are going over websites and stuff. The acceptance rate. So this is where we spoke to your kids today, maybe freak them out a little bit about really, when we talk about fit of a college, it's not just when they get on a campus, they got a wonderful tour guide, they love that school, it's beautiful, it's pretty, they go up to UVM in the middle of the summer, Burlington is just awesome. Try going in February, right? So that's what we say, and now, anytime now through May is the best time to get on college campuses because the kids are there. Now, if you go on a Saturday morning, like when I went to SUNY Stony Brook, there was no kids out. We did a 9:30 tour. Well, no kids are up at 9:30 on a Saturday morning. By the time we left at noon, lots of kids were up. They were still in their pajamas going to breakfast, but they were up. One thing that you can look at is, scroll down, yep, no, scroll up, boom, college overlaps. I might as well show them that because it's here. So this little tab here, this is kind of interesting data for all you data geeks out there. And this shows you the top 10 schools of Algonquin students who applied to Assumption, the other schools that our Algonquin students applied to. When you see this data here, you'll see the amount of applications, the acceptance percentage, the averages. One thing to be careful about with this kind of graph is this is using data from the time we started Naviance, which was back in 2005. So what I'm going to show you is a different kind of graph that can help your child really understand where they fit, not just as a person, but really where they fit as a student in comparison to the colleges that they are looking at. So if you are on this kind of page and you go to admissions, you're going to see here, as I said, Assumption, they accept 78% of all applicants. This is a cool little graph. So what this graph shows you is where Algonquin students in the past 3 years, students have applied from Algonquin, how they have fared at Assumption. When you see those nice little green boxes with the little checks, those kids got in. When you see X's, those kids did not get in. If your student took the PSAT, they will have a circle. Where's Crystal Ball? There she is. All right, so Crystal Ball is right smack in the middle. We have sort of 3 ranges of colleges. There are reach colleges. Those are the schools that your students' GPA, their academic record, maybe their test scores tend to be way below what the college middle acceptance rate is. So that's going to be a reach school. I'll show you that in a minute. There is schools that are realistic. So Crystal Ball here, she's smack in the middle of the graph. Assumption for her would be a very realistic school. We know that everybody from Algonquin who applied there in the past 3 years all got in right around where she's at. So we feel good about that. Some of us, because we're guidance counselors and we work with Assumption a lot, if we look at your child and we look not just at their grades, at their test scores, but actually Assumption's test optional, so they don't have to worry about test scores, but we also know what kind of things they do. We might be able to say, you know what, I know you're going to get into Assumption, and if you don't, I might call because I want to know why. Now, if Crystal Ball is way up on the right, that would be what we call a safe school. Had an interesting discussion today with one of our students in our workshop. He wasn't mine, but we had them read a article about fit and what is a safe school, a reach school, a realistic school. And it was really interesting because what he said, well, a safety school is that school that you don't really want to go to, but you know you can get in. And that is the perception when you hear safe school. But the safe school could be exactly that school you want to get into. But your averages, you are much higher, your academics, maybe your test scores are much higher than that school's accepted average. So that school, assumption's going to want you. They're going to want you so bad if you're way up there in the right. They're going to offer you money. And that's nice free money, because the worst thing you want to do is take out a lot of loans or send your parents to jail like Felicity Huffman trying to get, really, let's think about it. These people are spending, I don't know, what's her name, Lori Loughlin? How much did they spend to get their kids into USC, really? They could have just bought their own college for that money. So you don't want to take out that many loans, especially at the undergraduate level. If your child is thinking they want to go to business and they want to eventually get an MBA or something, the less loans that they have coming out, the better. I was lucky. Both of my kids got scholarships. They both went to very good schools for them. Now, my younger son, the dragon guy, he was the kind of kid here. He could sleep through a few classes, then he would figure out, oh yeah, I gotta do my homework, because otherwise his mother would yell at him, and he would figure out exactly what it took to get a B, and he was very happy with that. He never even bothered applying to a reach school, because he knew what kind of student he was. He had no desire to go to an Ivy League school. He's like, why do I want to be with people who all they want to do is study all day? Now, he's working, he is living on his own, I'm not supporting him, so it's okay, he did well. My other son, much more academic, went to Carnegie Mellon, which I then found out was, at the time, one of the number 10 most expensive schools. Thank you. He could have gone for like free to UMass, but no, he went to Carnegie Mellon. But it's okay, because now he's making a boatload of money as a chemical engineer, and I tell him I'll be moving in with him when I get old. So these graphs are really the best way to really see where is a good academic fit for your student. As you're looking at these graphs, can you go back to BC? And there's a ton of information that Naviance has. You can find all sorts. You can get a glimpse of what their top majors are. You can get a glimpse of so many things. And that's before you even go to the actual college website. But so here's BC. BC, I don't know what their acceptance rate is. Do you remember that, Andrea? 28%. Okay, so that means that of all their applications, and that was probably last year or 2 years ago, that they're only accepting 28% of all applicants. The interesting thing, Northeastern, when I was growing up, Northeastern, anybody could go. They would take anybody. They would have even taken me. But now their acceptance rate is 19% of all applicants. That's where that marketing, those college ranking things come in really big. Colleges is a business. They have to make money, so they play into the ranking thing. What we spoke a lot to the kids today is really get off the ranking, the name schools. Think about where you're going to do your best. Where are you going to connect with professors, with kids? So BC, for Crystal Ball, she's right down there. What do you guys think? She getting into BC? Probably not, right? Now, if BC, she's always wanted to go, she loves it, she goes to all their football games and stuff, then I would say apply, because I can guarantee Crystal one thing: she won't get in if she doesn't apply. Now, if her father is dean of a school at BC, she might get in. If she is a 6-foot-tall basketball player and they need a 6-foot-tall women basketball player, she might get in. But those kind of athletic scholarships, don't go paying athletic coaches for that stuff. And if you do have a student who is like a Division I being recruited, you really want to talk with us. Years and years ago, I had a kid really burned by a college coach because the coach said, yeah, no problem, you're going to get in, don't worry about it. The kid took her name off of all the other colleges, and then in March, we were still trying to get her into that school. She ended up going to that school, but it was very stressful. So never sign until you have an acceptance. Did I cover everything? Because you know me, I didn't write notes. Who's next?
All right, so Becca's always tough to follow, but I'm gonna do my best. So my job is, we are gonna look at a school website, and we're gonna look at Assumption. Assumption didn't pay us to do this, it's just how it worked out. But Naviance has a lot of really awesome data that we want the kids to be aware of and use that tool as they're researching their college list. But they also have to be on the school's websites, because the school's websites are gonna have the most updated, accurate information. Sometimes we'll be on Naviance and we'll see some discrepancies with deadlines or classes that they are requiring students to take. So anytime a kid is really doing a deep research into a school, we want them on the website. And all the websites are similar with the type of content they have, but the layout's a little different. So we're gonna just pick one website, we'll look through it together and kind of highlight some of the big points. So first of all, we're gonna check out the admissions page. And we're going to look at how to schedule visits. So the way Assumption does it is they have it's going to be on the left there, Andrea. Yep, there you go. There's going to be visits where you can go on, see a calendar, and pick a time where you can show up and meet with an admissions representative, get a quick presentation, and then go off for a tour with the school, with that probably student-led tour of the building. The big thing with all these tours are they're going to schedule certain times throughout the day. So if you don't schedule them ahead of time and you show up and you just kind of walk into admissions, you may be waiting around for 2 hours to go out on that tour. So sometimes it's hard enough to talk kids to going out onto campuses. You really want to do your research ahead of time, schedule them through the website, or call up to admissions and get them scheduled that way. So down at Assumption here, they'll have different dates that you can sign up for, different times for that info session for those tours. They also have the opportunity to sign up for interviews through the Assumption website. Interviews are going to go the same way. They'll have a calendar listed there. You'll be able to click on the date that works for you. Generally, if you're on campus for that tour, maybe schedule an interview after the tour is done. It'll give the opportunity for your kid to ask some really great questions and just have a useful tour with the follow-up interview as well. After that, we're going to go back to the undergrad admissions page, and we're going to look at some information that they give around deadlines. So here, under the undergrad admissions page, you'll find deadlines listed for the school. So Assumption has 2 early action deadlines. They have an early decision deadline that's binding, which we'll talk about more in the future. And they also have a regular decision deadline. Sometimes these deadlines can shift throughout the school year, depending on what the admissions process looks like for that school, how many applications they're getting. The individual school website is going to have the most updated information, so we really want the students on there checking out this information. We'll also scroll down a little bit, and they're going to talk to you what you need to use to apply for that school. So Assumption lists here that they're going to need, you can click on that, Andrew. They're going to need an official high school transcript with a guidance counselor will take care of. They will need letters of recommendation from the counselor, from the teacher, And then they talk about sending in optional test scores from either the SAT or the ACT. Down below that, they're going to walk you through the course requirements needed to apply to Assumption. So, and this is all our course requirements pretty much are going to follow along with college requirements except for a couple things. So, you're going to need 4 years of English. You're going to need 3 years of math, 2 years of foreign language, which does not follow along with us. We don't require a foreign language, but generally colleges are going to ask for 2 years. History, science, and then 5 additional academic units. So all our students are going to hit all those requirements except for the foreign language, but that thing, we schedule foreign language with the students with that in mind, that they're going to check all those college boxes. They're also going to talk about individual majors. So a lot of colleges will have nursing majors, maybe engineering majors, pre-med majors, and they're going to ask for some specific requirements. Assumption here talks about their individual nursing majors, what additional classes they'll need. I think they're going to ask for an additional science class for the nursing major. They have a pre-physician's assistant program there. They're going to have a couple extra classes they're going to ask for students. So any nursing majors, any engineering majors, any pre-med majors, you really want to double check on the school's website to make sure you're not missing any requirements prior to applications. So from here, we're going to actually go over to the academics tab. So the academics tab is going to allow you to research the potential major that your student's going to be applying to. So if your student knows the specific major they're looking into, they 100% want to get onto that school's website and then explore that major through the website. So here, we're going to have Andrea pick us a, what did I say, Andrea? Economics major. So Andrea's going to find the economics major. From here, they're going to give you a program overview about what type of classes you're going to be studying over the 4 years, what to expect in this individual major. So down below, Andrea will be able to find specific classes that you'll take as an economics major. And they're going to lay it out year by year what you're expected to take. So you can kind of do a little preview. After that, they're going to talk about potential internships that you can look for in that economics major. And they also highlight different careers that Assumption economic majors have had over the past couple of years and some really good companies that they've been connected with. After the academics tab, I always stress with students that they want to look at, and this is going to be called something different in every college page. Sometimes it's just going to be called the About College tab. This one's called the Student Experience tab. Here it's going to give you a snapshot of the school's culture. Assumption's a Catholic college, so they kind of highlight some of their Catholic values on here. They're going to talk about their local community, so Worcester as a college city, what's in the surrounding neighborhood. They're going to talk about life on campus as far as dorms options and what housing is and are you guaranteed it. They'll talk to you about different clubs and intramural sports through the student experience page. This is just a nice tab to get the kids excited about what else is on campus beyond that intended major that they're looking into. After this is a really important tab, obviously, is the financial aid and tuition tab. That is, for the Assumption's website, is back under the undergraduate admissions tab. Here it's going to walk you through, obviously, the cost of the school, okay, which is important to know. It's going to talk to you about the scholarships offered and how to apply for those scholarships if Assumption is going to be a college on your intended list. And they're going to talk to you about how to apply for financial aid. So Naviance, or excuse me, Assumption uses the FAFSA. They're going to have specific deadlines that they want all your financial aid information turned in by. The school's specific websites for the financial aid is a really big resource that you want to use no matter what school you're looking into. If your student is a potential athlete, especially at the Division II and the Division III level, majority of colleges will have their own athletic websites, which Assumption does, and they're also going to have something where there's a Recruit Me tab, okay, under that individual teams page. Under the Recruit Me tab, and this really is for Division II and Division III athletics, you're going to be able to fill out information, get on that coach's radar, and that coach will potentially reach out to you, maybe host you on campus for a day, have you come in and meet the team. But if you're looking to play sports, you really want to be your best recruiter, get onto the individual teams pages, fill out the recruit me information, and then more than likely that coach is going to reach back out to you from there. Lastly, if you've been on the school's website and you're excited about it, you did the virtual tour, you did a campus tour, and this is a school that you will more than likely apply to, you probably want to get on their mailing list so you can receive additional information. To get on the mailing list is going to be different on every school. Assumptions is located back under the undergrad admissions page. And all the way at the bottom, they're going to have something called request information. Here, you're going to be able to fill out your information for your student, and they are going to list what potential major they are, when they want to have potentially enroll for the school, and then Assumption's going to start reaching out to them with pamphlets or some specific emails and just more information about the college so they can be better informed. Also is just showing interest to that school. So if this is a school you will be applying to, it's definitely worthwhile getting onto their mailing list, and you can sign up through that right through their websites. Okay, so Jason Lessard is going to be up. He's going to talk to you about touring and some financial aid.
All right, so I'm going to cover pages 12, 13, and 15 in the workbooks. So it's going to be visiting colleges, college fairs, tours, interviews, and financial aid. So all of what I'm going to discuss actually goes back to those articles that Lisa mentioned earlier. So visiting college campuses is probably one of the most important things that a student can do along this process. And throughout this week, we challenge students to think about what a good college fit is for them. All right. It's not about a particular ranking or a name, or we had one group that actually said like a pro of going to a reach school. So the hardest school for them to get into, that's the pro in itself. The fact that it's the hardest one, that's the one they should go to. And that's the consensus among a lot of students, that it's the most difficult one they can grab onto, that's where they should be. And really, it's all about what's a good fit for them. They could go to that school and be absolutely miserable and have a horrible experience. They need to go what the best fit is, and if you're happy where you are, you'll make the most of that experience. And just to point out, one of the articles very quickly is they did this study, and they studied students who were accepted to like an Ivy League school and a top 50 school, and then they were accepted to a state school. And ultimately, they followed all these students, some that went to the Ivies and some that went to the states, and found that after their 4 years, all of the students ended up making the same amount of money because all of those students had that drive to succeed and to do well, and they still did well if they went to the state, and they did well if they went to the Ivy. So it's what you make of your education is what's key, and those students are going to be successful. So on to the tours, because that's really how you can discover, is this a right fit for me? So the number one thing first is a lot of tours sometimes offer an information session, and I definitely encourage everybody to sign up for it. Generally, it's about 45 minutes before the tour begins. It's usually held by like a student panel and some admissions counselor. They'll tell you all about the school, all about the majors that the school has to offer, and can answer a lot of detailed questions. The tour is generally led by a student, and chances are students won't have all the answers to your questions. So it's best to kind of get those answers out ahead of time. So when you're on the tour and those information sessions, please don't be afraid to ask questions. Come prepared, have questions ready to go. If your student's uncomfortable with asking questions, say, can I ask some of these questions? Usually they're fine with it. And ask the tour guide or ask the admissions counselor. When tour the school, again, I think Lisa said this, but when the school is in session, there's a totally different energy when students are running from class to class and the campus is filled with kids and the library is full and the CAF is full. If you go over there summer, everything looks great in the summer, but it's a much different experience in the summer with no one on campus. So also think about, what does your child like to do? So some students really want to watch sports games. Some want to use the gym a lot, or some really like to eat, or some go to the library all the time, or some are going to be in their dorms a lot. So those are things you want to make sure that you get on the tour when you're with your child. So for me, it was eating. I love to eat. So I went to every single cafeteria at every single school that I visited, and I tried the food. That was something, we sat down, we recapped the tour, and we sat in the cafeteria and had a discussion, took some notes down, and that's what we did. And I picked my school based off the best food. No. So I highly encourage you to do those things. And also, a lot of times you'll have an experience, you'll go to a school and it's just you're having a rough day, and then it starts snowing, and then you get there, it's miserable, it's wet. I remember I did like College of the Fenway tour, and it was raining the entire time, and I was soaked, and I was just like, oh, I don't like any of these schools. Like, keep in mind, like, don't let those experiences impact the entire decision. It's also the tour guide can have a huge impact on the decision. One of my students was telling me, they're really interested in environmental science, and their tour guide was like an English major, so they want to see the science area, they want to see all the stuff going on, but that student really had no idea. Like, they weren't even really sure where the science building was, so it's hard for them to lead them in that direction. That could impact your visit, so it's important too to think about those things. And is it worth giving this school another shot? Should I do another tour and take another look at this school? So you want to make sure of those things. So again, after the tour is over, definitely recommend sitting down somewhere, discussing it what's still fresh in your head, taking some notes, even taking pictures on your phone or to remember things, because it's early right now. So when we're looking back in September, and then when they're accepted in January and they're trying to figure out, okay, I got accepted to all my schools, which one do I choose? You might not remember what the food was like, or what the buildings were like, or what they had. So take those notes while you're there so you'll have them later on. I always think it's a great idea to sit outside, like if you're interested in English or science or computer science, you sit outside that building. And it may sound a little crazy, but when students come out of that building, ask them questions. They pursued the same major that you're in. They're not a tour guide. And ask them things like, I think questions are great about, like, if I gave you $1 million, what would you change about your program? Or what are your likes and dislikes, obviously? And what are some things that, cutting edge things you think your school is doing? Or what do you wish you knew before you started your major? Can get a lot of insights about what that program at that school is really like and what kind of benefits it might come with your child. That is a little tricky to do. I will say in the groups today, I was a little alarmed. In a good and bad way maybe, but the students, when asking the students, sort of asking what they could do to learn more, they almost all immediately said, I'm going to reach out on social media, I'm going to find a college student in that major, and I'm going to start asking them a bunch of questions. And it was like, it happened in every single group. So I just want you guys to be aware too, like, you know, if your kids are reaching out to a stranger in college and start asking questions online, just keep that aware. But so that is a way to do it. I'm just not sure if it's the best way. So also, the next part, beyond tours, interviews. Just real quick, interviews, I think, are always a good thing to do if available. A good rule of thumb is the larger the school, less likely they'll have time for an interview. If they have thousands of applicants, they're not going to be able to sit down with everyone. The smaller the school, chances are they will have that opportunity to interview. Your child will send their transcript, they're going to send their letters of rec, and they're going to send their essay. But it's a lot different when we can put a face to those grades. There's stories behind all those things. So an interview, I think, always helps if it's available. You can sometimes sign up for them during the tour. Some schools actually require them, so they might need you to do them after the admissions process has started. In the CRC, we do mock interviews, and the biggest piece of advice with interviews as I can give is a lot of students get excited for that reach school, the school they really want to go to, and they sign up for that interview, and they're all pumped, and they go to that one first. I would suggest going to your safety school first. Find the schools that or even schools you're not totally sure about yet, but maybe it's much easier for you to get into. Do 2 of those interviews first. You'll hear all the interview questions, you'll process them, you'll talk about them at dinner, and then when you go to your reach school and when you go to your top choice, you feel prepared and you're gonna nail that interview. So that's just one thing I would keep in mind. A lot of people rush to go to that top choice. I would actually do the reverse, and I would think about some of the safeties. So that's my biggest tip on interviews. So quick tips on the college fairs. If for those of you who don't know, college fairs are these like really great way to see a lot of schools, and they just fill up a gymnasium, and there's maybe 100 schools that come. Every year, I'm always amazed. The schools that have like an hour-long line are the ones that like are 45 minutes away. So it's just like, I would suggest if you can visit those schools and go for a tour, don't worry about so much about seeing them during the college fair. You go to the ones that are in California or Florida, or ask them questions about their programs and their majors, or what it's like if you're an out-of-state student going, and what they look for in diversity and everything else. And you can ask those questions and they'll be right there. Also, it's a quick little tip is you can print out little labels, like you can fill out a whole label sheet with your name, address, phone number, email, because every school will have a card that asks for all that information. So when you collect the card, you just slap the label right on, and you can kind of have a conversation versus spending the whole time filling out their little card. Let's see. So that would be, so financial aid, exciting stuff. So I definitely encourage you to talk to your kids about financial aid. I actually think it's kind of insane when you think about it, but most students have no debt, period, at all at this point. And now they're going to potentially take out the largest debt of their lives, excluding mortgages and houses. So this is a huge financial decision. And it's really important to speak with them and be very candid about what their finances will be, or what role the family has, and what is going to happen. The earlier you do this along the process is better. Don't wait until they're accepted into their dream school, and then the acceptance comes in and says it's this amount, and everyone's just like, what do we do now? Because now that student has their dreams on that one school. So you want to make sure that you have this conversation early. And what's a realistic cost of going there? We talked to a lot of kids this week, and I think there's some kids out there that are really unsure of what the cost of college is. Do they know how much you are, if any, contributing to college? Do they know what loans look like? Do they know what a $25,000 student debt looks like, how much it is a month? Do they know what, 100,000 loans could be $2,000 a month? So I'd relate these things to like things that they can grasp, like car payments or anything like that. Quick rule of thumb is, we saw Naviance earlier. There's a tool up there. You can look up careers and potential careers. They can actually estimate the salaries that you will earn. So a student's potential salary from whatever they're going to learn should double what they have in student loans. So if they have $25,000 in student loans, their career should earn them $50,000. Just a quick thing to kind of think about. I don't want to say or kind of be like, oh, don't visit schools that are going to be expensive or anything like that. It's just, I want to encourage everyone to think, have this conversation before you start doing all the visits, because I often think it happens after, and then can be a lot of hurt feelings and emotions and things going on. So you want to do it before the process really gets started. So on that note, I'll pass it to Kate, and she's going to close this out. Oh.
Okay. So I am going to talk about course selection. I'm going to keep it fairly brief. It's not your first rodeo with course selection, and I'm also quickly running out of tissues, so bear with me. So course selection is from March 2nd to the 15th. So your students are going to be picking out their senior year courses. And I know, a lot of them are thinking, great, I don't have a required science course anymore. I don't have a required social studies course anymore. I'm going to take 5 studies and my required English and PE. No, they're not. So it's really important that they keep up with their rigorous course load for their senior year as well. So that's what colleges want to see. They want to keep seeing them challenging themselves, keeping up with their academics. We send them their first quarter and second quarter grades during the admissions process, so they really need to keep up with those academics and their grades. So a couple tips about course selection, since they should know how to do the course selection process by now. So senior year, they should at least take 4 out of the 5 major academics. So this means, they might want to stop taking a foreign language, or maybe they're not a science person. They should maybe think about doubling up in another core academic areas. So if they don't want to continue taking their world language, so their Spanish or their French, whatnot, maybe double up in English, right, Jane? So, taking another core academic course to fill that space. You should also note that seniors should probably be taking a 4th year of a math. Not only do Massachusetts state schools require 4 years of math for admissions into the schools, but also many students will be taking placement exams for their college. So it's best to keep fresh with that math as well. So students should also challenge themselves with the appropriate rigor in the classes that are of interest to them. So we always say, listen to your teacher recommendations and go with that. Your teachers know you best, and they know, the next level that's coming down the road, and they can appropriately place you in the right level for you. So work with your teachers around that. But you also want to select courses that are challenging but not super overwhelming. And we always say balance your schedule. So take the courses that are right for you. It might not be the courses all your friends are taking, but follow your interest in your level of rigor. Again, colleges are looking for students who have academic interests, so maintaining those academic courses on your schedule is great. So it's not a good look to abandon those rigorous classes to take a light course load senior year, because if you're abandoning those challenging courses your senior year, that's the last set of courses the colleges will see before you step onto their campus. So they might think, well, is this trend going to continue on our campus, or are they going to continue to challenge themselves on our campus as well? With that being said, students should also take elective courses that they've been interested in. Finally, their schedule's freeing up. They can take some of those interesting science classes or English classes or social studies classes. Take those art classes that you've had your eye on for 3 years. Take that drama or public speaking class, a business class, because sometimes you're going to find your passion that way too. So senior year, I've had multiple students try out a marketing class and decide, wow, I really like that. Maybe it's something I actually want to pursue in college. So they talk to their teacher. Maybe they sign up for another business elective during the second semester, and that's something that they end up pursuing. So take those classes that maybe are a little outside your comfort zone or that you've had your eye on. Maybe friends have recommended them or talked highly of those classes. So take things that you're also interested in as well. Sorry. So on Naviance, under the admissions tab, you're going to find what schools require and recommend in regards to their academics. So if, for example, UConn requires 2 years of a foreign language at the high school level, but they recommend 3, so you should always go with what they're recommending and maybe even exceeding that. So if UConn's recommending 3 years, go for the 3 years. So again, that information you'll find on the Naviance tab and also on the college-specific websites. Okay. So on the Algonquin website, we have a tab that's specific for course selection. So here you're going to find the IPASS instructions for students and parents. You'll also find the 2019 to 20 program of studies. Here you can review the course descriptions. You can see the prerequisite for courses. We also have the 4-year course of study plan, so students can make sure that they're taking or will be taking all the graduation requirements. There's a course selection reference sheet, so students can see which classes are open to them and plan their schedule for next year. Sorry. And then all the information about exemptions and overrides. But again, that's old news. They've been through this before. So when we meet with your kids during the next workshop, we'll be talking about course selection and the importance of their senior year schedule. So that's it before I...
We will be updating the website with the course selection information for the 2020-21 course selection process. So the stuff that's currently up there is this year's course selection information. So after February break, we'll have the website updated with information for the coming year, okay? All right, well, once again, we appreciate everybody coming out to the presentation. If you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to your child's guidance counselor. Have a great night, and we'll see you in early March for the college admissions panel presentation. Thank you.